So I've seen a number of different things, partook in a number of different things, nothing to really, speak to. When you're in the street, that's what comes with what you're doing.
Jay, or Jam Master as he was known on the streets of West Baltimore, began serving up to a 12-year sentence in 1989 for selling narcotics just prior to the birth of his son, Jay Jr. He would lose his freedom, miss the birth of his first child, and lastly, be absent from the funeral of his mother, Juanita, who passed away a year into his incarceration. This is his story.
Jay Henderson Sr., 44 years of age. I'm a court assessor. Watch my dad go to work every day. I remember him dropping me off in front of unemployment. He told me that you were gonna find some employment. You're gonna get a job. But once I crossed the street, I took on a different life. My peers whatever my parents said, didn't mean as much when I was in that environment. When I did what the guys were doing in the neighborhoods. As a guy, Wolf, I gravitated to him. I looked up to him, and he taught me some stuff. And the one thing he said, I was a good little soldier. And then I bought into that belief system, and I followed him. Followed my brother. And they were doing some things. And this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a part of that. Went to cop and criminal justice major, dropped out to sell drugs. From 84 to 87, I was smoking weed, selling drugs. And I decided one day I had a bright idea that school wasn't for me, and I was going, I committed to a life of crime.
Unlike most brothers in the game, Jay walked away unscathed, but became intimate with death when a good friend died in his arms after being accosted by some stick-up boys. Gelston Drive is where Jay sold, packaged, and eventually started to abuse drugs, all under the impressionable eyes of Jay Jr.
He probably can't recall, but I ran an $8,000 shop or strip or whatever, and I would give people drugs in order to watch him. He would be on the playground, I'd be selling in the same proximity of the playground, I'd be selling drugs, thousands of dollars worth of drugs, while he was actually placed him in harm's way a number of occasions. One of the biggest mistakes was not being ready as a father, selling drugs, committing crimes in the community with no wherewithal. Never really never took my son into consideration in the stuff that I was doing. The crimes that I was committing, the drugs that I was selling. Getting high and using drugs. I would do those things. My goal in the morning was to get up, get him some cereal and milk, and then open up and sell drugs.
Jay Henderson's life would take a turn for the worse when he became, in addition to a dealer, a drug addict, which led to a raid by the authorities and the beginning of what could have been a 12-year prison sentence. Jay Henderson's time had come to an end, but young Jay was doing time as well, away from his father.
One of the most devastating times in prison, in jail, was calling home and speaking to my son, and he would ask me when am I coming to get him, and I couldn't tell him. I couldn't give him a definite answer because I was actually facing 12 years at the time. It was very hard in prison and jail because I could not talk to my son, could not hold my son, couldn't tell him when I was coming to get him or spend some time with him.
Were you ever fearful that something would happen to your son while you were away?
No, I was never fearful of anything happening to my son because I knew he was with his mother at the time.
How much of the stuff the violence and the stuff that you've seen in the streets, have you tried to pour into your son? Why is being a father, based on what you've seen, so critically important?
I always explain to him, it starts off with the knife. The knife leads to the gun. It's so critically important that, a lot of times the dirt that's on him or on me will possibly get on him. So you have to be mindful of your surroundings and the company you keep. you know, and I talked to him about the little friend or his little friends that he hang with. You know, you need to know what they capable of, right? And then, you know, a lot of times they could be in something and you don't know nothing about it, and y'all together, and what's on them get on you. First of all, take your time, set goals, work your plan, be mindful that, you know, not to recidivate, you know, go back into, or you can't come back out here and sell no drugs and break law and think you're not gonna get locked up. Real simple. J-Man, just be careful, be mindful that, you know, the little guys you hang with, you know, blood is thicker than water, I always tell you, right? And that each decision that I make, I had to keep you in mind. So the decisions that you make out in the street, you need to keep your family in mind. My whole thing with you is the importance. The only thing you should be worrying about is getting your education, going to school, doing what your mother and father tell you to do, and be responsible. That's all.
Jay Henderson's transformation from drug dealer, drug user to student and gainfully employed wasn't easy. But with the love of his son and the willingness to change his life for the better, he was able to leave his past behind, but remains mindful that the past is only one bad decision away.